And we're live.
Hi. Good evening, sunshines. We are joined by this precious little muffin because he refused to go to bed. And this is what it's like to run a family business and have no local childcare and just making life work. Also, though, who would even come to the live to see us if they could see this little cherub, who, by the way, is like far too obsessed with my Redmond Re-Lyte for his own good.
Yeah.
Yes, so he's like, oh, well, it's happening already. Just kidding. He's a little young for that, even though it is the kid's grape one. How are you all on this? Oh no, this is, hey Bubby, you have to be so cute and precious for everyone if you're gonna be here. Huh? Yeah, you're gonna be so cute. Should we get your little tractor? Yeah, we should get your tractor. Okay. Anyway, Adam's gonna get the tractor. Okay, great. We are just gonna make it work. It's gonna be great. But also, so glad that you are all here. And we're off to a great start. We are going to be doing a Q&A style live tonight. So if you have any questions that are appropriate to ask and are woodworking, gardening, baby rearing, life related, family business related, oh no, please ask them in the comments section and we will get to as many of them as efficiently as we possibly can. And in that, Adam is showing me how to do that. Great, gotcha. All right, perfect. Obviously, as the technological genius of the family, me running this is amusing. Okay, so someone says, Jason Schaefer, by the way, this is a hilarious thing. This is a secret door, which is very cool, that goes up to Alexander's bedroom above my office, which used to be a hayloft and now is a very, very cool baby bedroom. And it works really well for things like this and also daytime nap times and everything, because our house is really, really far away from where we actually work. All that to say, though, that when I was building that secret door, I mismeasured. Well, I mean, I just didn't understand how the hardware worked. I thought it opened like a cabinet door, but instead it actually just pivots inside the hole. So I was like, oh, I just need a 24-inch door opening. And then once I got the door mounted in there, there's like a 9-inch hole for you to walk through. So when you're holding that fat little baby, you have to think really skinny thoughts to be able to fit through the door and not pinch anyone. All that to say, here we are talking about gardening. Jason Schaefer 5126 says, could you please touch base? I kind of sunburned my seedling plants. I set them in the sun for a little bit while I cut grass. Will they recover? And that is a great question. And I guess only time will tell. But what probably happened is that if you have your plants inside under a green light or a dome or something where it's, controlled conditions, and then you suddenly put them outside and there's a sudden change of, sunlight, cold, heat, whatever, it can shock them. And like seedlings shock can stunt the plants, but I mean, who knows? It depends on what kinds of plants they are. It depends on, whether they were already stressed when they were in their little seedling holder things. We're really firing on all cylinders. We were actually going to make a small announcement that prior to, we had to reschedule this live because the night that we were going to have the live, I ended up in the emergency room because I had a horrible GI infection. And while I was there, we discovered that, I have some heart issues that we have to deal with. So anyway, I've been sick in bed until a few hours ago, which actually I feel great now. I'm so thankful. Adam was like, should we reschedule again? And I was like, absolutely not. I feel like $1,000 now. But if you are, but I'm also a tad slower firing tonight. So my apologies in advance for that. But yeah, I hope your seedlings recover. It's hard to say. Maybe while we're here together, you can give me some more information about what kinds of plants they were, et cetera, and we'll get back to it. I think Papa forgot to take his bottle with him.
Yeah. Can you...
Yes, happily. He doesn't want to have to fit back through the hole. No problem. We got it.
Did you figure out the...
Yes,
things?
I think we'll survive. Somehow, I figured out how to run this business for 10 years without him, but I am very glad that he's now here to save us all from my technological prowess. Kayla Lover says, hey, Anne, it was wonderful to meet you at the Homestead conference. Side note of side notes, we just got back right before I went to the emergency room. We got back from a family road trip to Texas where we got to speak at the Homestead conference in Waco, Texas at the Homestead Heritage Village. And it was so fun. I think like 3,500 people came, if I am not mistaken. And it was, even with that big of a gathering, it ended up feeling so intimate. We got to spend a lot of quality time with a lot of folks, and I got to be on stage with Joel Salatin and Sean and Beth Doherty, and that was the honor of a lifetime. We got to do lots of spoon carving, and we talked about how to build community in 2026. How do you find friends when you are busy on your farm and live in the middle of nowhere and you need help? That's been something we've been navigating, for 15 years of doing this. We also talked about the importance of building infrastructure on your farm and time management on your farm. And on the way to Texas, we also stopped by our really good friends, Jill and Nathan at Whispering Willow Farm in Arkansas, and we filmed a video there. So we are super excited about that coming out. All that to say that at Kayla Lover said, it was wonderful to meet you at the Homestead conference. Question: how do you deal with fire ants in a compost pile? I turn weekly, and within a few days, there's a new nest swarming. Thanks. That is a great question, and I am going to guess. Well, I'm going to assert that probably your compost is not either composed of the correct elements, like there's not the right carbon to nitrogen ratio, or it's too dry. Because if you're having any kind of pests, and this actually goes for pretty much anyone who's composting, the number one question I get asked about compost is, what do I do about pests in my compost? And the reality is, if you're getting rodents, raccoons, flies, gnats, ants, termites, if you're getting any of those things in your compost, then you've actually got a problem with your compost. And so the best solution is to get a compost thermometer. I always tell people just to go on Amazon or whatever online retailer or local retailer you want to support. It looks kind of like the thermometer you use to cook a turkey. It's about this long, and they're usually about $16. And it is a great $16 to spend if you're making compost, because it's a literal, like, you can look at the face of it, and if it's not in the compost section, like it's 120 degrees or so or more, then you're not hot enough to actually kill off the pathogens on the plant leaves. You're not hot enough to deter pests. The other potential problem with pests is that you're not building your compost house. Like I talk about having a house, you need wood or carbon, walls, roof, foundation, all those things you don't want to have greens or nitrogen sources on top of your carbons. And those nitrogen sources will attract pests. But if they're all covered up with carbon and you're still getting pests, then it's very likely that your compost pile isn't hot enough. And the way to get it hot is often it just needs a little sprinkle of moisture, because moisture will get the microbial activity going again, and all those microbes moving to and from is actually what generates the heat in the pile. A lot of people ask, should I put my pile in the sun or the shade? It really doesn't matter. We can have 160-degree piles in 2 feet of snow with no problem, because the heat of the pile is actually generated from within. It's all of the energy of all those little microbes doing the good Lord's work, moving to and from and eating this and that and farting their little yeast farts and converting all of that organic matter into good organic matter for your garden. So that said, if you're having ants in your pile, it's very likely that it's either not moist enough or not hot enough. So I'd highly recommend adding some moisture. And if you don't have a thermometer already, get one and check and see what temperature it is. If adding moisture doesn't help get your pile hotter, then another great solution is to add a bag of coffee grounds. A lot of coffee shops will give free coffee grounds if you just ask them, because they're it's a waste product of their business, and so they're just throwing it away oftentimes. So you can just get a bag of those, and you can just put the coffee grounds straight into your pile and stir them in, or you can dump a bag of coffee grounds into a 5-gallon bucket, fill it up with water, let it soak overnight, and then dump that onto your compost pile, and that will help too. Urine is a great free source of nitrogen. You can collect it in jars, or you can have pee right on the pile. Anyway, I don't want to get demonetized here, going down this avenue too much, but here we are. So hopefully that helps. At Miss Lil Cat. And I love your videos and always enjoy your funny, bubbly personality. Question: so I see you casually propagate your strawberry runners and have success. I'm not having the same luck. What should I do? Propagating your strawberry runners, which if you're growing strawberries, you might notice that these little strings come off that have a tiny little leaf at the end, and that every single one of those little strings could become another strawberry plant if you want it. But here's the thing: as soon as the strawberry plant is putting energy into sending off runners, then it's not going to send as much energy into making fruit or fruit production. So just keep in mind that if propagation or multiplying your strawberry plants is your goal, then absolutely, every time you see a runner, just take, I often will take landscaping pins, which you can buy in extreme bulk. I think I got a pack of 1,000 once for $5. Or you can take, literally anything that will hold it down onto the ground. And that's all you need to do is you just need to get those little strawberry runner feet wet and keep them wet. So what I do is I take a landscaping pin and pin that runner right down to the ground, cover it up with a little mulch, and come back in a couple weeks, and there will be those little white roots right off of that. And at that point you can clip it off of the runner, and now you've got a transplantable strawberry crown. The more roots that you have, the more likelihood that your plant's going to survive and thrive if you move it. Best way to do things, if it's not in your way, is literally just to pin them down and then leave them there for the rest of the season so that they can really establish roots. And then hey, I've got a brand new fresh plant that I can transplant in the fall, or even wait till spring or whatever else. And there you go. That's how you propagate your strawberries. But do keep in mind that every bit of energy that's going away from the mother crown is going to be taken away from your fruit production and everything else. One other quick note: anytime you're transplanting anything, you want to remove as much of the greenery or the foliage off the top of the plant as possible. So if I'm ever transplanting strawberries, I don't want any more than one leaf up above the crown where I'm transplanting it, because the more greenery that you have up above, and especially if you have a weak root system, the more greenery that's up there, the more that those few tiny little short roots have to support. And so easiest thing to do to ensure your success, and this actually goes for pretty much all plants, if you're transplanting just about anything, you want to take as much of the foliage off as possible without damaging the plant before transplanting it, because that will guarantee that those roots have a little bit more time to establish, rather than taking all the stored energy from the root system of that plant and trying to shove it up into greenery or plant life that is above the soil line. So that's that. And Rodolfo Rodriguez 4540. Sorry, I'm very dyslexic, so reading aloud is sometimes a challenge. My question is, how can I grow plums from cuttings? Well, the best advice I can give you about growing basically any fruit tree from cuttings is to find some locally adapted variety of a rootstock, or a rootstock that you know is going to do well in your area, and then take cuttings from someone else's or from your own plum trees or whatever related fruit tree you want to make more of, and then graft those cuttings onto this locally adapted rootstock. That's going to be the thing that makes all of this the most successful. Now, that said, that's the way that you're going to get the healthiest, most viable plant. It's going to be the way that you get the most predictable results, because for what I'm about to tell you. But the thing is that if you also just want to take a real gamble, what you could do is you can take any cutting from any fruit tree, or lots of plants actually, and you can then dip it in rooting hormone, or a natural rooting a plant that naturally creates rooting hormones is willows. So you can take a willow cutting and stick it in the soil or in the water with your cuttings, and that will, create some rooting hormone that can help it establish some roots. But a lot of plants don't. If you actually take the cuttings at the right time and you then stick them into moist soil, and then keep that soil moist for long enough, most of them will grow roots. And the reason that I was saying this is not necessarily the most viable way to do things, because most fruit tree cuttings that we're going to be taking from any tree that's not just a wild tree out in the wild somewhere, they have also been grafted onto some sort of rootstock. And generally speaking, whatever is grafted to the top part of the rootstock, the plums that we're actually eating or whatever, that may or may not be a variety of tree that can actually thrive really well in your climate. Like, it's possible to take a plum tree cutting from somewhere not at all here and put it onto some locally adapted rootstock and have success with it here in Tennessee. But it's not nearly as likely that if I were to just take a trimming from a Home Depot plum tree and stick it in soil and try to grow a tree from that I would actually necessarily get a tree that would live very long, or that would grow very vigorously, or that would, survive and thrive long enough to give me delicious fruit. All that said, it's very cheap, if not free, to just take a cutting and to put it into soil and to give it a couple years and see what happens. And I'm very much a proponent of making experiments like that. If you have the time and the space and the energy to do those things, highly recommend it, because I actually myself do that kind of thing all the time just to see what I can get away with. And I will say that living in the South, peaches and nectarines tend to really, really do well here no matter what you do. Like, it's really hard to screw them up. Although, that said, it's actually really easy to not get fruit, but the trees themselves tend to really thrive. All that to say, though, that I've taken a lot of different peach and nectarine cuttings, and even against my own advice, just taken the cutting straight on, put it in some soil just to see what happens. And I've gotten a couple very vigorously growing nectarine trees specifically from those cuttings. So, like, I'm going to be picking nectarines this year from not following my own advice trees that I put in the ground a few years ago. So we have a whole video about this. You can check it out. It's called Potted Fruit Trees are a Ripoff. So hope that helps. Jason Schaefer 5126 says, I am using, oh wait, this is from earlier. Okay. The Sunburned seedling plants. I'm using straw as mulch this year. Is it better to put it through a wood chipper first, or can I sprinkle it on as is? That is a great question. And I will say that the one negative of using mulch is always that unless you know where it comes from, it's really important to try to test your straw as mulch before actually putting it on your garden, unless it's too late, in which case we'll find out, because there's ways to fix every problem. the biggest issue with most straw that's widely commercially available is that it's been sprayed with either broadleaf herbicides or pre-emergence of some kind, because people that are trying to grow barley straw are trying to not have other plants compete with them. And if they're not beholden to any organic standards or anything like that, why not spray a whole bunch of stuff on them to make sure that they get as much straw as possible? That can cause some really, really big issues in our gardens, especially when it comes to growing things that have broad leaves like beans and squashes and other things, like and broadleaf herbicide contamination in your garden can cause residual issues for years. But to quickly answer your question, I don't think I've quickly ever answered a question in my entire life, but should you put it through a wood chipper first? Honestly, when it comes to mulch and what you're actively putting onto your garden, like your active growing area, the smaller the mulch pieces, within reason, the better. But it's not totally necessary. The whole thing is that I actually recommend that you really focus on your compost game in the actual areas that you're planting, because the better your compost is, the better that the compost natural water retention is. And then you have a little bit more leeway when it comes to mulching your plants, because one of the big issues that, straw or wood chip mulch or anything, if you're putting it right up against tender young seedlings is that lots of things like roly-polies and snails and slugs and everything like to live in wood chips and mulch. And I like to scooch the potential predatory zones away from those little tender seedlings until the plants are way better established. So with that said, that was a huge tangent, even away from your question about the wood chipper. But like if you have a wood chipper and you can make your mulch smaller, go for it. But if you don't have a wood chipper and you do have chickens, run your chickens through your straw first, because they'll also pick a lot of the seeds out of it and keep you from having to weed a lot of grass seeds out of your mulch too. Okay, that gets us through the starred questions that Adam left for me. And now we're going back into the Wild West. And I'm so sorry, because I am horrible at reading, as I've already mentioned. And I'm going to try to just pick things just at random. And I'm so happy that you're all here. Thank you so much for being here. I also think this is a great opportunity to mention the sponsor of this video, Redmond. We love Redmond real salt. It comes from an ancient sea salt deposit in Utah. And if you've stuck around here for a while, you know that I'm a huge fan of salt. I'm pointing to this very pink drink, which doesn't look very salty at all, but this is in fact Redmond Re-Lyte. It's their hydration product. This is the kids' grape version, and this is basically the only reason that I'm still alive. I found out a few years ago that I was spending all of my life dangerously dehydrated and mineral and nutrient deficient, and I actually, until very recently, didn't realize that humans were supposed to drink water, much less that it might actually help us to absorb the goodness of water if it has some electrolytes in it. Thus entered grape Re-Lyte, and when I found out that I could drink water that tastes like grape popsicles, it's actually good for me, really changed my life. That said, that for everyone who knows how much I love talking about salt, I'm going to try to keep this TED Talk to a minimum, but salt has been given a very bad rap, because that white salt, that like white table salt that we all see on our salt shakers, etc., it's poison. And there's a reason that, we're told to limit our salt intake and everything else. But guess what? That white table salt is actually white because all of the good things that were once in it, the kinds of things that make salt actually really, really good for us, have been taken out and sold, hilariously, here we are on a gardening channel, to fertilizer companies and all kinds of other companies where they can get a lot more bang for their buck from the nutrients and minerals that have been taken out of the salt that we are supposed to then eat. Why would we do that when we can get our salt with all of the minerals still in it, and better yet, from an ancient sea salt deposit that was left very likely during the Jurassic era, before humans started throwing all of our garbage in the ocean, which is, in my mind, a real dream, because I don't want to be drinking dehydrated ocean water, especially knowing that for the last 20 years, we've been paying China to basically throw all of our alleged recycling into the ocean for us so that we didn't have to feel bad about it. I don't want that on my table. So all that to say, we love Redmond. We use their agricultural products for all of our animals. We, this is safe enough to drink. I even give it to my baby unintentionally when he steals it all the time. And they have all kinds of products, not just from human health, animal health, but also the toothpaste that I use is also made from the clay deposit that's nearby the salt deposit. But this is my favorite new product that Redmond has to offer because I am a very busy person. I am also a new mom, and running around trying to manage the farm and keep our business afloat and keep Alexander alive and all that stuff keeps me very busy. And in that, I've never been very good at eating, but it's become very important that I do get better at getting enough calories every day. And so putting this protein powder in with a glass of milk from my cow every day is the best way to pack in the right kind of calories, the right kind of protein. And also it's very delicious and delightful. And again, has massively helped just my day's work better. So anything that you ever buy from Redmond, you can go to redmond.com. It's Redmond Real Salt. If you find it anywhere on social media, I mean, all you have to do is type in Redmond Real Salt. You can even get a lot of their products from Walmart and other places like that. But if you are shopping online anywhere at the Redmond Life, Redmond Agriculture, Redmond Real Salt, Re-Lyte, any of those things, you can use the code Ann of All Trades. That's Ann and E of All Trades. That's where we are right now. I'm Ann of All Trades. And you'll get a discount. Redmond's the same company we use for our soil tests and everything else. It's the best company ever. It's amazing people, and they're doing great stuff for human health and for the world and for animal health and for soil health. And we couldn't love them enough. So that said, thank you, Redmond, so much for inviting us here to spend this time together so that we can all spend time together for free online tonight. This is, okay. Jennifer Zapparoli 6884 says, how do you start raspberry canes? Excuse me, I'll take a quick drink. How do you start raspberry canes, and what time of year do you start them? That is a great question. Most fruit trees, actually, most perennial fruit things, but also most perennial vegetables that I can think of at the moment too, like to be started either in the fall while they're still while they're dormant, or while they're about to go dormant. Or in the early spring, right when plants are starting to wake up. And that's the same for fruit trees, like asparagus crowns, strawberry crowns. That's the most ideal time to transplant or to propagate or to do any of those things. However, I love the saying, when is the best time to do it is, a little while ago, but the second best time is right now while you're thinking of it. And that remains true until it gets too hot and dry to keep them moist without constant watering. Because, I mean, you could, in theory, plant a fruit tree in the middle of July, but you're just going to be fighting an uphill battle to keep the roots moist enough to, spread out enough while there's that much green foliage trying to grow and do stuff up above ground too. So the best time for most fruit tree anything, or fruit anything, or vegetable anything that's going to come back year after year is either in the winter when it's, fall when it's about to go dormant. Winter, you can do it anytime basically while it's dormant, and then early spring right before things are starting to wake up. Oh, I love this question. Julie Lay 8035 says, do you all milk, or do you drink raw milk? We do, in fact, milk. We have my friend Tyler and I run a raw dairy, and we have 20 cows, and we're very, very into milk of all kinds. In fact, Adam just fed Alexander some of my milk. but that's a different kind. But the reason that I do have the milk that I have is literally because I drink a lot of milk, and it helps with my own milk production. But also, I love milk in every way. Adam often makes fun of me for how much milk I drink, but I mentioned earlier that I didn't know until I was an adult that I was supposed to drink water because I had never really seen people drinking water before. And prior to that time, I had only ever drank milk and eaten watermelon for my hydration, which probably makes sense why I was so dehydrated all the time. And that brings us to Adam's back without Alexander, which is always, it's always wonderful to see Adam. Very nice. What about Bob shirt, by the way? And a beautiful haircut that I did 3 weeks ago, actually, and it's holding up nicely. Usually we have to do a haircut every 2 weeks, but
what I miss?
You missed an accidental TED Talk about salt. You missed talking about propagation and mulch and strawberries. And
nice. So you answered all these questions?
Yes, I did.
Excellent. Well, then we'll just do that.
Oh, wow. Look at you. Those are disappearing now. Okay. And then I basically just came back to the beginning and started picking things at random because I, can't read and talk.
Okay. All right. Have you been putting it on screen?
Oh, no, I don't know how to do that.
You click on the question.
Well, now I know.
There you go. There you go. Okay, I have a question. I live in North Carolina, Zone 8. I plant tomato seeds, all kinds of vegetables and herbs on April 19th, and they still have not come up. It has been abnormally cool here. My question is, will the seeds rot in the ground while they're waiting for the soil to warm up? By the way, I'm using raised beds.
That is a great question. And I think one that is very relatable to a lot of people because it is really hard when you put a bunch of seeds in the ground and then kind of see nothing happen and are very concerned. So with literally every gardening question, I feel like there's probably 10 different answers. And also one of them is always, it depends. But I will say that, so you're in North Carolina, Zone 8, April 19th, I'm not sure what your weather's been like, but I will say that tomato seeds in particular like the soil to be about 70 degrees before they start coming up. And actually that goes for tomato starts too. So if you've purchased, seedlings or starts from a nursery, one of the best pieces of advice I can give is to wait to transplant them until the soil is the proper temperature for those things to be transplanted. Because if you plant whatever plant you're planting in soil that's too cold for it to or too cool for it to thrive, then your plant is basically off to a slow start. It'll get what's called stunted, which means that once that soil does start to warm up, it's already very likely that your plant has already kind of compressed itself down and kind of hunkered down, knowing that, times are going to be tough. And it's during that time that our plants are the most susceptible to infiltration from pests and diseases. And so, a little patience goes a long ways. That said, you asked if the seeds will rot in the ground while waiting for the soil to warm up. And the answer to that is, unless you're just being too caring, which is often a challenge that a lot of gardeners have, is they care too much. And so they water too much. And in that, if you're watering too much, you may have drowned them. They may rot in the ground. But the reality is that actually seeds, not all seeds, but I always feel like I have to give some disqualifiers or qualifiers before someone's like, well, actually, even though I myself am usually the one saying, well, actually, seeds can live in the seed bank, in the soil for up to 300 years. And we have a really fascinating, in my personal professional opinion, video called Weeds Are the Answer to Your Garden Problems, which talks about what weeds are doing in the soil and what they will tell you. And it's the reason I bring that video up is because the thing that has been the most fascinating to me watching, like farming for the last 15 years, is certain weeds will just suddenly pop up in the soil. And it's like, well, where did those seeds come from? Buddy, they were already there. And the best way we as gardeners can actually deal with compounding weed problems is actually learning what's going on with our soil. Because if we fix our soil, then we are able to basically bring balance, and ultimately weeds of most kinds are literally, their whole jobs are to try to balance soil for us. Each weed is doing some different mining of different minerals and nutrients that they want to bring up to the soil surface. And as they do that, it's just Mother Nature trying to fix itself. All that said, the other potential issue, even if your seeds, let's say that everything was perfect, the soil conditions were right, you weren't watering too much, and your seeds still aren't coming up, then what I would guess is that you potentially have a soil issue, a soil fertility issue. And in that's where I would recommend doing a soil test. And I talked about the Redmond soil tests earlier. You can get those at redmondagriculture.com and use the code AnnabelleTrades for a discount on those. And for $30, doing a soil test is probably the best thing you could possibly do for your garden, because I used to be the most chaotic. I still am the most chaotic person ever, but I've become the world's biggest lover of collecting data and using that data so that we're not constantly chasing our tails. And so when it comes to gardening, if you just have the data that says, hey, this is what's going on in your soil, then you know exactly what you need to do to fix it. And when you bring balance to your soil, everything else falls into place.
We have a situation.
What's the situation?
We have 41 questions back in the backlog, and at the rate that you answer that question, we're gonna need to have a 15-hour live stream.
Okay.
So
well, that sounds like a hoop. I'm well rested after my 7 days of bed rest. Let's give me some. I promise you. Well, I can't promise because I don't ever break my word, but I'll do a rapid fire, and I'll do let's make it a competition because I love to compete.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see if we can clear these questions.
Okay. Go.
Hi, Annie. Do you use humic pellets for any reason? Do you recommend them to help your soil?
That's a great question. I have experimented with humic acid in the past, and I would say that it's a great thing, but I will also say that Redmond is coming out with a new microbes product, and that is way, way, way better than any humic product I've ever dealt with. I am working very closely with the development team, and I'm so excited about it. Check out the Redmond microbes product instead.
There you go.
AnnabelleTrades discount. There
you go. Good. See, I think we might be able to do this.
Okay.
What should I grow in my plastic kiddie pool?
Probably nothing unless you poke a bunch of holes in the bottom, because if you put anything in a kiddie pool that doesn't have holes in the bottom, water is going to sit in the bottom and it's going to cause your roots to rot. Just like humans, plants aren't very good at breathing underwater. And so, but if you if you poke a whole bunch of holes in the water, in the bottom, and it has proper drainage, then you can plant literally anything. And I would highly recommend some sweet potatoes if you're in a good zone to grow sweet potatoes, because those are real fun.
All right. I accidentally grew raspberries all through the lawn. How could I stop them from spreading more?
Get on Facebook and what?
Oh, sorry.
Get on Facebook and offer raspberry starts for $5 a piece.
There we go.
And dig up all those starts, because eventually you'll raspberries grow in like a little T underground, and so you can just actually, if you start pulling them up, you should be able to follow the T's, and eventually you'll get to the end.
Prayers for your recovery and hope your heart issues clear up. Try capsicum, says
yes,
Bill.
Yes, I am. I am using that and beet and all kinds of other things. And I thank you. We appreciate the prayers.
Any suggestions for a soil mix for fabric posts and even raised beds, says Eternal Treasures.
Are you, I'm wondering if this is a question about like a soil mix that you would purchase, or if you wanted me, or like if you want a recipe to mix your soil. In which case, I have that written down somewhere that my phone disappeared to, and I'll get back to that one. Let me just make a quick note. Soil mix. But other than that, I mean, shoot, I actually hit it right before the live stream, but any organic potting soil mix is fine. If you watch our next spring garden tour video, you will see why I had to go and buy a bag of this, because I made a huge mistake with my own potting soil thing, and I messed up some plants, and so this is how we're fixing it. Anyway.
All right. Any tips from growing stevia from seed, says Jessica Snyder.
Oh, a lot of herbs are really difficult to grow from seed. Not to say that it's impossible. It's just that a lot of herb seeds are really hard to get to germinate. And so what I would recommend is get on Google or anything else and ask if you need to cold stratify your herb seeds, which is a fancy way of saying, do you need to put it in the fridge first, or whether, like soak your seeds overnight. But a lot of people are doing this really fancy, not fancy at all, but it's really cool. You just roll your seeds up in toilet paper and potting soil, or sorry, toilet paper rolls and potting soil, or cardboard and potting soil. Anyway, it's these really cool little cinnamon roll looking things, and that's a great way to get hard seeds to germinate.
There we go. Don't get tripped up on this one, because I feel like you could
go on a pawpaw adventure.
You can go on a rabbit trail. Can you tell us about pawpaws, if you're familiar? I'm in Appalachia and have been hearing so much about them. Any advice, is Courtney Gregory?
I love pawpaws, and I'm so glad you're here, because I am going to keep this quick. I'm going to keep this quick. Pawpaws, for those who don't know them, are a magical tropical tasting fruit that grows. It's the only tropical tasting fruit that grows places where it also snows. TM. I feel like I should trademark that, because I say it all the time. But they're very delicious. They taste like a mix between a mango and a banana, and they grow all through the South, up all the way up to Michigan, as far as I know, Iowa, Missouri, and they like to grow in these little hills and valleys called hollers. Down here, I think we're called hollas. Anyway, I got obsessed with them when we moved to the South, and I have over 100 pawpaw trees in my pawpaw propagation station. Anyway, I could go on for 7 hours about this particular topic, but I will spare you all. If you do have specific questions about the pawpaw, besides just, are they great? And the answer is yes. Hit me with that next.
The good news is that we're going way faster. The bad news is that we're not keeping up with the rate of incoming questions.
Okay. Faster. I'll do even faster.
I feel like this is similar to something recently question. Yeah, how do you grow comfrey from seed?
See the prior thing. Also, if you're in an area where comfrey grows really well, I would highly recommend that you make sure that you're not planting something that's going to become invasive or a problem in your garden, because in a lot of places, comfrey can really go wild, which sounds like a good idea, or sounds like a good thing, until it suddenly isn't.
Awesome. What's your favorite flower? It says Soft Sculpture.
I love passion flowers, Passiflora edulis specifically, because they then turn into passion fruit. Which actually, I could also say the same for the flower that turns into any of the other fruits I also like.
Vicky Thompson asks, are there weeds to avoid putting in compost tea?
No.
Doesn't it all burn off at like 100?
If you're doing your compost correctly, then no. You could put Bermuda grass in your compost tea if you wanted to. Which
we talk about in the video that's coming up.
We sure do.
Do you trellis your zucchini or squash, says Chrissy Nicole?
Yes, I do. Actually, we're trying a bunch of different experiments with those this year, which I am very excited to show in our various garden tours over the season. So make sure you stay tuned for those. But yes, trellising is not something that I think was traditionally done, but it's like something that seems like an obvious solution for the problems of powdery mildew, because if you keep the plant up off the ground where it's, mildewy and moist, then you're going to be great. Plus, pests can't climb up little leaves that are laying on the ground if they're not laying on the ground.
I gave up growing celery. It's always bitter. What am I doing wrong? I'm going to take a guess. It's probably locations specific, right?
Like of the country?
Where they're growing. That might be a challenge.
Well, many things could potentially be, but I would actually probably say it either has to do with your soil health or like maybe it's in the sun. Like, I mean, you know, celery kind of is, it likes to be in the summertime, but it is kind of a cool season crop. So if it's in the direct sun in a really hot place, that might be making it bitter. That actually very likely would make it bitter, but also could be a soil mix issue.
How do you grow peppers from seed? Asked Jace Satori.
Without being too sarcastic, you put the seed in some soil and then add some water. But actually, I will say earlier I recommended this like cinnamon roll approach, and I'm not going to try to explain it again because I'm an idiot right now. But if you look anywhere on the internet, at pretty much every gardening influencer except for me is making tons and tons of reels about that, and I haven't made a reel I think in like a year, so that's why you haven't seen me do it.
How do you recommend to stake tomatoes? I know you don't like cages, but don't recall you showing how you handle your tomatoes. Ask Blake Rides Bikes.
That is a great question. And the answer is that this year am going to show tomatoes done hopefully right, because I've actually showed tomatoes done wrong several times because I usually only grow like eating tomatoes, like cherry tomatoes and maybe one slicing variety here on our farm, because our neighbor who I do a lot of bartering with grows a commercial amount of tomatoes. So we usually just trade for flats of tomatoes. That said, this year, because of various reasons, we're showing some different methods we've learned from other farmers that we've gone and interviewed at other farms.
There you go.
And in that we will be showing, but you'll see, I'm going to make basically a cattle panel teepee kind of thing. And then all the tomatoes go in one row and they grow up in it.
There you go. Good segue to the next one. I'm local to you. Do you have a CSA or milk share program I can get in?
Yes, absolutely. You can go to bellsbendfarms.com/dairy. Let me just double check that that's correct.
Well, Bell's Bend Farms.
Bell's Bend Farms Dairy. I mean, like
you
can find it. You can find it. Bell's Bend Farms Dairy. We would love to have you. Our farm store is open on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and so yeah,
Monthly
we would
square
love
dances.
Yes. In fact, May 23rd. If you're in Nashville, May 23rd, come hang out at the square dance. I'll be bartending.
I think we did that one. Strawberry question. Speaking of strawberries, mine seem to be much smaller than usual. The weather has been favorable and plenty of rain. Any suggestions? Asked Cynthia Weininger.
If you're not getting enough strawberry, or like if the fruit isn't big enough, then if it's smaller than usual, it's obviously not the variety, because like I have some strawberries that make tiny strawberries on purpose. But if you're usually getting bigger strawberries and you're not right now, it's a soil mineral balance issue. Like there's nothing else to it. Just I would highly recommend doing a soil test. It's probably a little late to do anything about it for this year. Actually, that depends on where you are. Here, we're in peak strawberry season right now. So
it's crazy.
we're picking 15 to 20 pounds of strawberries a day. And like there's still way more than we can even keep up with.
Going in the freezer.
Yep.
This is our first year doing Lazy Garden, thanks to you. We got mulch from Chip Drop. It is all mulch from pine trees. Is that going to be too acidic? Live to cycle.
No problem. And this is a question I get all the time, and the answer is don't worry about it. Like organic matter is organic matter. People even are so worried about walnut and the compound jug loan. Like, no, don't worry about it. If you were putting like semi-truckloads of pine on year after year after year and never doing any other organic matter or doing anything else to remediate your soil, then yeah, you might have an issue over time. But no, don't even worry about it. It's going to be great. I actually am, unfortunately, Adam just recently killed my one of my main experiments in the test garden.
The blueberry?
By stepping on my blueberry, but I've been doing a 6-year proof that pH of your soil doesn't matter nearly as much as people think.
Did it really die?
Yeah, well, you crushed it. It was eviscerated, but it's okay. Anyway.
Okay.
It like wasn't like a little squooshed. It was
bummer.
Dead. Come on.
Okay. How do you recommend hardening off? We're making ground. We're like up
Good,
4
good,
when
good.
we started. How do you recommend hardening off plants before planting in the garden?
Put them outside during the daytime and then bring them back in at night. Like if you have any protective domes or anything over them, take those off inside the room first and then put them out. I mean, I'm a lazy gardener, so I tend to, it's kind of like a gladiator, like survival of the fittest thing. Like if you're too tender to, just kind of go in and out in the period of a day or two, then you're probably not going to make it anyway, because you're going to go through the fight of your life out once you actually get out there anyway. But yeah, I take off any domes or whatever in the room before you take them outside. And then the next day, take them outside. Don't put them in the direct sun. And when you transplant, don't ever transplant in the middle of the day. I always soak your roots before you transplant them. Get everything very, very, very moist, if not waterlogged, and then, transplant in the early evening.
Probably this one. How do you probably send with the video? How do you get a fruit tree to produce more fruit? Asked Don Michelle Brewer.
That is a great question. And the answer is most likely either a soil issue and or a pruning issue. And we have a fruit tree pruning series on our YouTube channel called You're Probably Killing Your Fruit Trees. Definitely go check it out.
While we're on the topic, hi Ann, nice to see you. Any experience with growing fruit trees from pits?
Yes, a lot. Would we like to elaborate or?
Oh no, I was just listening.
Oh, the dogs. We have livestock guardian dogs who are doing their job right now. So.
Have you raised rabbits?
Oh wait, let me just not be a jerk on that last question. I'm sorry. On the growing fruit from pits, yes, and that I would recommend checking out our video. Potted fruit trees are a ripoff. I've grown lots and lots of trees from pits, but I will say that specifically, actually no, I can't go into a TED talk about that. But yeah, check out our potted fruit trees are a ripoff video.
Have you raised rabbits? They create one of the only super composts. Also in the video we're about to release, we talk about this.
I have, in fact, been raising rabbits since I was the tender age of 5 years old. And not to toot my own horn, but I actually created several different breeds of rabbits. I was obsessed with rabbit genetics, well, still all genetics. Anyway, yes, I'm very into rabbits. Rabbits are I talk about the importance of fertility and rhubarb a lot, and there is literally no better way to feed your rhubarb or a lot of other things, but most importantly your rhubarb, than to have a bunny specifically dedicated to your rhubarb, which we do. Eugene, her one and only purpose, aside from creating fiber for my spinning wheel and delight for our son Alexander and entertainment for all of us as a family, is to create fertilizer for my rhubarbs.
I believe it's called cold compost, and it's one of the manures that you can put directly on plants.
Yes, we can call that.
I think it is.
Yes,
only because I looked at this today.
That's great.
Okay. I'll leave the questions to you.
No. Farmer Adam, listen, not 4 years ago, this guy texted me a picture of a zucchini plant and said, "Is this lettuce?" And so I am very interested in any of the farming advice that he has to offer us.
Oh, not advice, just observations.
But no, I'm saying because, after now 4 years of working together, he now, first of all, is very interested in the same thing that I was previously constantly talking his ear off about. And now he actually can sometimes contribute to the conversation. But the thing is that I'm always on the edge of my seat about what he has to say, because it's am I going to get an opportunity to say, well, actually, or will he be right? And that I mean, this is
Who
literally
knows?
one of the smartest people you'll ever meet. So
Oh,
it's
no.
there's, you know. Anyway, more questions.
Anyways, more questions. Tips for big lush tomatoes. S. Saran McGowan.
Good.
Sorry if I butcher names, by the way.
Good soil is the tip for literally big lush anything. And the way that we get good soil, I'm not trying to gatekeep or like be facetious here, is do a soil test. And like the reason that I recommend, actually one of the reasons we even started working with Redmond was because I've been obsessed with soil for the last 15 years. And people who know me literally used to play drinking games and things to the number of times I would talk about the importance of remineralizing your soil. And it's actually a joke amongst all of my friends that how long is it going to be till she brings up remineralization of soil? But all that said, remineralizing your soil is not, you know, this big woo-woo thing that it probably sounds like. If you do a soil test, which is very easy to do, there's like a little QR code. You take some dirt and you put it in a little baggie and you then put it in this little thing and you shake it up, you put it back in the thing and then you mail it off and you scan a little QR code and then you get the results in your mailbox, email box that say, hey, you're missing some nitrogen and a little bit of magnesium and whatever else. And this is what you need to add to your soil. And when you get that, it will then, those results, like you can literally just either get a bag of something or you can look up online, like what weeds create calcium. Dandelions. You can take some dandelions, put them in a bucket of water and start watering your plants with calcium water then. Anyway, fixing where your soil is lacking and bringing, there's more than just nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, NPK, which is in fertilizers. But like, in case you're unaware, there's a lot more than just NPK that we should be looking at. And there is actually a perfect balance. And when you hit that perfect balance, that's when your watering doesn't matter anymore. Your pests don't matter anymore. Your disease don't matter. I'm sorry, like get out of here with that. Okay.
Okay. Do you ever start your own seedlings? We were just talking about this today. Do you ever start your own seedlings or do you buy from a greenhouse? I am in Southwest Pennsylvania and we have such a short growing season. I always grow my own seedlings to try and get a jump start on planting. Ask Beaver Country Rancher.
That's a great question. And the answer to it is that I do a mixture of all of the above. Actually, so I've mentioned our neighbor earlier. He grows things commercially, and so I can get a lot of starts from him, and we do a lot of bartering and trading. So that's a really inexpensive / free way for me to not have to spend a lot of time growing my own starts. But I'm also not, I mean, the time value of money is something that we have to talk about a lot because we just have too much going on. And the thing is that with the garden, a big goal for a lot of people is saving money. And so in that, the cheapest way you can grow your own food is to start everything from seeds. But if just absolute frugality isn't your main goal, then growing things from, like getting things from greenhouses is a great way to save yourself some time and effort. That said, there are a ton of things that it's absolute waste of money to get from a greenhouse as opposed to direct sowing specific seeds. So we actually have a whole video about that. It's called
The Lazy Gardener's Guide to Plant Shopping Like a Pro.
There it is. And it is actually shot at our neighborhood greenhouse called Flowers
/ deer processing.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that. It's called Flowers, which hilariously, it's our neighbor, Mike Flowers. His name is Flowers, so he had to open a greenhouse, obviously. But Flowers, greenhouse, and deer processing.
They're great. We were just there today.
We were there today, actually, buying some. I didn't have, Alexander really liked one specific variety of the sweet potatoes we grew for him, so I ran out of sweet potatoes to grow slips from. And so we had to go to Flowers to pick up some of his Beauregard sweet potato slips today.
Okay. Jesse Hermit asks, do you know anything about growing watermelon on a trellis net? I just bought my first watermelon plant, Sugar Baby, today.
I have grown watermelon on a trellis, but I don't know what a trellis net is, to be honest. So we can
get that question then.
Yeah.
I
will never. I mean, this is a commitment to you all here. Like, I don't claim to know things that I don't. So if we don't know, we're just gonna leave it to the rest of the internet to answer those questions.
I don't know what this question means. Do you know? We're talking about the chair that's right behind you.
This one?
Yeah, I think that's what that is.
Oh, I actually got this out of the trash.
And it's like not real leather.
But it
looks cool.
It does look cool, and it's very comfortable.
And it has collapsed.
I fixed it.
Already.
Part of why it was in the trash.
It was held together with, like, it was constructed with like staples.
Yes, and now it's constructed with much better staples.
Correct. Anyways, a container garden. Something that were asked quite a bit long ago. So if these people are not here, I apologize. A container garden on our apartment balcony.
Yes, you're farming where you're at. I love that.
Any suggestions for getting the strawberries through winter? Zone 5A, Ontario.
Well, one way is to bring them inside. The other way is to mulch them heavily. But because the pots are outside, it's hard to keep them warm that way. So actually, one thing that I do is, for other reasons, because we live in the South, but I actually bring my strawberry crowns inside during the winter. So you actually can see me prepping my strawberry crowns to put them in the fridge over the winter in our Why I Hate Cover Crops and 9 Other Lazy Gardening Tips or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's actually right.
So yeah, in the fall, I just I put I bring a lot of our strawberry crowns inside. I take all the dirt off them, put sawdust on them, and band them together in groups of 25, and then I plant them again in the spring.
I think they're asking what you're drinking. Have you talked about Redmond?
Yes. Yet? Oh, yes. We talked about Redmond, but I will say once again, I'm drinking grape Re-Lyte, which is a kid's hydration drink. And this is a much longer story, but I'm obsessed with grape flavored popsicles and grape flavored everything. And yes, so that is what I'm drinking. And it's very delicious.
Sponsor of today's video.
And also, I am also drinking coffee.
Not the sponsor of today's video.
Well, there's milk in it, which, we could say that the cows eat Redmond minerals too, which is also the sponsor of today's video.
Amazing. And you can get 15% off all Redmond products, both agriculture and Redmond Life, using code Ann of All Trades.
That's Ann with an E of OFALLTRADES.
Yep, I put it on the screen. Okay, let's see. I'm a Seattleite who moved out to rural Ohio. If you or anyone knows...
chickens treated for parasites with ivermectin, is it safe for composting or edibles? Absolutely. I wouldn't worry about that too much. There's 1,000 other things that are very likely going to kill us all, and I'm not concerned about that.
Fair enough.
Also, composting kills so much. If you do it well, we have a video that's called... Composting for Beginners, that, not to toot my own horn,
it's an oldie, but a goodie.
It's a very oldie, but it's a very goodie. I had not seen anyone else explain composting like that, and I came up with this analogy with my friend Josh we build a compost house. And I love analogies because I grew up with severe learning disabilities, and analogies help me make things make sense. And I love the compost house analogy. I think that's a great video.
It is a great video. It's probably my favorite video you guys did.
Well. It's a big compliment. He didn't like very many of the videos I did before. But that's just
I can rattle off a bunch of videos.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that as a slight. I'm just saying that, we are together for a reason. You make me better.
Oh. Okay. Wendy Smith asks, can you grow lettuce in the dabbled shade of trees when the temp gets hot?
Absolutely. I talk about this all the time. I do a ton of companion planting in my garden. And actually, one of the ways that I keep weeds down in my garden is by planting short season crops in the shade of longer season crops. And one of the ways that we actually, because it gets way too hot here for lettuce and other cool season crops in the summertime. But if they're in the shade and they're only getting ambient light, like they tend to bolt a lot slower. So things like cilantro, things like lettuce, radishes, if you like them, and other things like that, you can totally plant in the shade of trees. I actually plant a lot of strawberries like ever-bearing strawberries that are under my fruit trees, so that when that foliage kind of plumes out, we still get some coolness on the strawberries, and we get strawberries all year long.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for the super chat, Matt Perrin. He asks, do you have any advice on dealing with chipmunks? They're going after our bird feeders and raised beds.
Well, my friend Mark Rober made a very interesting video about a squirrel. What?
Okay, go
ahead. About a squirrel feeder that is, squirrel proof, or sorry, a bird feeder that's squirrel proof. That's very interesting. All that to say that squirrels and chipmunks are very smart, and they will try to get into your everything. My best advice is not necessarily the most applicable to everyone, but get some dogs that love to hunt small things, and they'll never show up again. But I also have electric wire around things. It's mostly was to keep my dogs in, but it turns out it also keeps those kinds of things out pretty well as well. And also cats are great, except for cats tend to like to poop in the garden, and my dogs don't like cats, so there's that. But I also have a lot of traps, and we can leave the conversation there because some people here might care. And in that, there's live traps. It's illegal to trap something live and move it somewhere else, but we'll just leave it at that.
Sharon asks, is this going to be recorded? Yep.
Really interesting timing on that one, but okay, yeah.
will it be edited? Yep. Just kidding. I don't know. How do you handle ticks on your farm? Honey calf.
I try not to handle them at all, but
although they're not super bad this year since we've had like no rain.
Yes, we're in a bit of a drought, which is nice. But so a couple things. This is rapid fire. When ticks are bad, I try to keep grasses and brush trimmed as much as possible. Like that means I have like a saw blade on the end of my weed eater or whatever, and I just like go through and try to keep that stuff because they like moist, long, dense stuff to crawl in. Then I always tuck my socks, tuck my pant legs into my socks. If I'm going into the woods, which I spend a lot of time in the woods looking for mushrooms and stuff, I'll put a ring of duct tape with the sticky side out around the sock pant layer thing. And then when I come back from the woods, I use a lint roller on the exterior of all of my clothes to get, like, it will take the ticks that are lingering on your clothes off, just like lint. Also, I spray my shoes and other things with permethrin spray, which is a tick deterrent. And another great tip is just to take a hot shower when you get back, because ticks hate soap and hot water, and they basically won't latch if you do that. Also throw
guinea fowl.
Also throw your clothes in the dryer as soon as you get home. And then also you could get some guinea fowl, which we have had guinea fowl many times, mostly when I'm trying to piss Adam off. And then I usually end up being the one who gets the brunt of that joke. So yeah, guinea fowls are great. I will say that people tend to really not like possums, but possums eat more ticks per capita than any other creature. And
wait, what do you like have them as pets?
No, I'm just like, don't actively go after them.
Got it.
I try to foster a healthy possum population around the farm.
Watermelon variety, favorite?
Sugar baby.
Boom. All right. Do you do any woodworking videos? Ask Peter Pierce.
I did do 212 woodworking videos before we started making gardening videos. And now we make, so you can watch all of those. And I will say they were pretty great, some of them.
Yeah. They're great.
I mean, I'm a way better woodworker than I am a gardener, but here we are.
Pretty good gardener, but you're a very
Thank
good
you.
woodworker. Soil tests. Okay, so and should I just sprinkle lime on the soil even after I've planted? My soil test said I needed that. That's
Absolutely.
Roxanne Murray.
Yeah, if your soil test says that you need lime, I mean, I'm not a fan of just willy-nilly adding anything ever. But if your soil test says you do need something, then absolutely look at what your soil test says, like the quantities and of what kind, and then sprinkle away. I mean, the good thing is that natural amendments, when they're actually natural and they're not chemical fertilizers and things, like you're not, I mean, it's something that's naturally occurring. I mean, we literally live on top of limestone here. I mean, in fact, we had to make a lot of soil when we first moved here to be able to garden well, because we were like on solid clay / rock. And in that, it's all lime. So like if that lime is going to hurt my plants, well, we're in trouble.
Thank you for the super chat, Mary Watson. Always appreciate that. Super generous. Let's see. I remember watching a video where you added some soil from the forest. Do you still do that or recommend it? If so, how much would you add to a 15 by 4 foot garden row?
I love that question. And the answer is yes. I always, whenever it's available, will add, you know, every time I go look for mushrooms, which is quite frequent, although less frequent right now with Alexander. But I mean, I used to spend 20 plus hours in the woods every week prior to Alexander. And every time I went, I would just bring a little bag to bring back, and I would just take a teaspoon of that soil and I'd put it under a bunch of my, you know, most valuable plants. And the thing is that it's not about the soil per se, it's about the microbes and the fungi that are in that soil. And what you want to do is you want to inoculate your soil with those things. And so there's no real prescription for any of it, but like if you have some woods nearby, just every time you go out, grab a little baggie and then just sprinkle a few little sprinkles here and there and everywhere.
Assuming it's allowed.
Yeah. Don't steal things from national parks. That's
it's a good way to get in trouble.
It's not allowed. I'm not recommending it. I help the neighbor maintain his road, and that gives me access to 1,500 acres of land that I can utilize, and that's an incredible privilege I don't take lightly.
Yep. Mary, I just saw your super chat question. Speaking about companion planting, what do you think about planting corn, climbing beans, and squash together? P.S. Put Vicks above your sock line to keep the ticks off.
Love that. Okay, so what Mary Watson's talking about is called Three Sisters Planting. It's, I mean, probably the most repeated line on the entire internet when it comes to anything about companion planting. And the answer to it is that I'm not against any of that, because the idea of planting corn, squash, and beans together is great. It's because corn takes a lot of nitrogen, beans fix nitrogen, and also the corn potentially provides trellises for the beans to grow up, and then the squash on the ground creates ground cover, which helps keep, you know, the ground covered, which we're all fans of all that stuff. But the reality of it in practice is that I've tried doing it like so many different times. And the thing is that I think that when you do that, just like the yields overall for all the things involved just kind of suck. And so something that I learned from Cody and Michelle, which, I mean, we're not going to be fully changing everything we do here by any means. But when we were with Cody and Michelle, More Than Farmers, who are growing a prolific amount of food on a very small amount of land, the thing that kind of Michelle said to me over and over and over is that, like, when you are planting something, just plant that thing. And I am a big fan of planting corn with, planting some kind of ground cover something with things that get really tall. So I would be the first one to say, you know, put some corn along with your sweet potatoes, or put some okra in with your sweet potatoes, or put some watermelons around your corn plants or something, just so that that soil stays covered and so that you're utilizing everything. But Michelle would say that you're like plant your corn where you're going to plant your corn. Don't try to do this corn, squash, and beans things, because it's going to be harder to pick your beans. It's going to take energy and time away from everything. And the reality is, like, a corn is not actually a good bean trellis. And the squash tends not to be super great at, like, you know, covering the ground as well as things like sweet potatoes. I mean, that's variety dependent and all these other things. But corn, squash, and beans, of all the companion planting things that I would recommend, that's not really one that I am super fond of.
What about plants that supposedly need bad soil to grow, i.e. lavender and chamomile? Ask Autumn Terry. Interesting.
That hasn't been my experience. However, you can grow all kinds of things in bad soil. If you try hard enough, you can really succeed for a really long time without ever having any idea what's going on.
We might have to look into that one.
We might have to look into that a little bit more. But what I would say is I would never intentionally have bad soil for any specific plant, because the reality is that so much gardening advice has been predicated on not actually really understanding soil science and just going off of whatever the last person had said about this or that or another thing. And with that, the understanding of the importance of remineralizing our soil and having an actual mineral balance in our soil is fairly new within the last 25-ish years. And so all that to say that when your soil is balanced, everything grows great. But
yeah, we'll have to look into that. I have a suspicion maybe what they're talking about, but I'm not going to guess here.
Wait, this is our chance to hear Farmer Adam's insight.
No, I'm just thinking it's maybe a misunderstanding, but we'll look it up.
Okay. Wait, Adam, why don't you tell them about our Texas trip really quick while I look up my soil mix so I don't leave a promise unkept.
Oh yeah, that computer might die.
It's okay. It's okay. You tell them about our Texas trip.
Okay, so what did you say anything about it?
Well, I just said that we went.
Okay, so we went to Homestead Conference. It's in Waco, Texas. It was a lot of fun. This is our first time going to that particular conference. This is actually the second year
of the conference.
Super fun. We will be doing another conference in June, the Homestead Festival in Columbia, Tennessee. And then you have a couple other dates.
Yeah, well, Homestead Festival is in Columbia, Tennessee at Rory Feek's farm on June 5th and 6th, I believe. And then the Modern Homesteading Conference in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho is the last weekend in June, I believe, or maybe second to last. I'm not very good at not maps. Well, I'm also bad at maps, but calendars. And then we're going to Ontario to speak on my birthday, September 19th. That's the one that was easy to remember. And I'm also speaking at the, I want to call it the Women's Retreat Conference, but I don't think I texted you about it. Oh, wait, I can text here. I'll look at your text because I texted you about it last night. Anyways. Oh, Cultivate in November.
Yeah. Anyways, the Waco trip was really cool.
Yes.
We drove the whole way, which was like 12 hours. Super fun. We stopped in Arkansas along the way, filmed a video.
At Jill and Nathan's at Whispering Willow.
Yeah.
But just very briefly. Tell them more.
So we stopped and filmed a video at Jill and Nathan, Whispering Willow. Super excited for that video. We also have another video similar that's coming out that we did at Little Farmland with our friends Ryan and Jasmine. That's going to be coming out probably this weekend. It's kind of part of a series that we're doing, similar to the one we did with Michelle and Cody of More Than Farmers, where we visit amazing farms, homesteads.
Yes.
I think we'll call it this. We'll probably call it a series. Probably call it like Amazing Farms or something. But
that's a nod at Tom Scott, by the way, who we love.
His is Amazing Places. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I really like doing these videos where we visit other farms and kind of get to like invade their life, and then kind of just let them show us their life. It's super fun.
Yep.
So yeah.
Very cool.
What are we doing?
I was just remembering my soil mix, and I had to go on my spreadsheet to look at the components.
Okay.
What else happened in Texas though? We saw your family.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we saw my family.
And we went to
Dallas, and we went to the aquarium at the Dallas Aquarium. Super fun.
But tell us. We saw the coolest shark display ever, and Alexander was obsessed with it at the Dallas Aquarium.
Oh yeah.
If you are ever in Texas, it is worth a trip to go to the Dallas Aquarium, because I thought we were going to basically go to like some like Finding Nemo like giant tank of water, and that it would smell bad and it would be gross. The Dallas Aquarium it's like 5 stories. And it feels like you're in the middle of a jungle, and it's not just fish. It's so interesting. They have a capybara, they have monkeys, they have, it's crocodiles. It's so cool. But the coolest part about it is in the basement, there's this shark tunnel thing that you can walk underneath where the sharks are swimming over. And one of the sword tooth shark, when it swam over, it looked like it had lips, and Alexander thought it was super funny, and he really, really liked it. So
yeah.
Anyway,
so we had fun in Dallas, fun in Waco. It was we like these conferences because we basically never leave.
We can't ever leave the farm because we have 20 cows, and
so it's cool to see people in real life. And see people who watch the videos too. We talked to so many viewers, and it was just like nonstop. It was really fun.
Yeah.
If you're ever at a conference, just come up and say hi.
We love that.
We like doing that.
Yes.
Let's see. Super chat. Thank you, Chappy Chaps 81 for the super chat. Very generous. Says thank y'all for what you do and what you share. So stoked to have found you a couple of years ago. I hope y'all remained inspired to remain inspiring.
Thank you.
It was very nice. Do you got it?
Yes, but didn't I say that I was going to look something? Oh, should I look up the lavender thing really quick?
No.
Okay, you do that. Another time. Well, another time.
Okay.
Hit me. I feel like I wanted even more rapid fire.
What was that all about?
Well, okay. Well, I had promised earlier that I was going to talk about my favorite soil mix.
Well,
if you're going to waste those, just use these ones.
Go ahead.
I'm obsessed with, I have a very, very specific time management system, and it relies on these super sticky notes, and Adam likes to play with paper, and so I have a specific, less expensive off-brand sticky for him to play with. That's very important to me. Frugality is the way that we make our lives.
That is what we call being frugal.
What?
Okay.
No, it's not. I also, it stresses me out to see these little things littered on the floor, because I'm like, did one of my tasks get crumpled and fall off my board and it wasn't completed? So if it's this color, I don't ever have to worry, because none of the tasks.
In the time
you
did that, Chappy Chaps $9.99 and Super Chat has paid for 500 of those.
Well.
Okay.
This is the difference of growing up poor.
Okay.
All right. My soil mix, I don't know why I even had to look it up because it's so silly, but I wanted to remember what my analogy was because we love analogies. But it's 1 part compost, 1 part aeration, and 1 part water retention. And so we've got the engine. The compost is what your fertility comes from. And then we've got the lungs, which is where your air comes from. And then we've got the sponge, which keeps the water in. And each one of those things can be different things, but the compost is the most important thing. You want well-balanced compost. Check out our compost video so you can make 18-day compost. You still have time, folks. That's well-balanced and yada, yada, yada. And then aeration. Perlite is, the easiest thing to use. There's lots of other things you can use, but, I just buy bags of perlite and it is what it is. And then 1 part water retention. So you can use peat moss, coconut coir, like sometimes instead of perlite or instead of peat moss or coconut coir, I will use my little soil. They're actually gold panning things, but like they're these little soil sifters, and you can sift your mulch so that you get really, really small chunks of mulch, and that'll be your sponge. So you need your 1 part, 1 part, 1 part. It's just 1 part fertility, 1 part aeration, and 1 part water retention. And that's great potting soil, etc.
I have bad news. When I came down here, we had 41 questions, and we have now 42 questions to get through.
Well, then go faster. This is your fault, not mine.
Okay. Vine borer questions. Roxanne Murray says, "Ooh, Annie, how can I keep vine borers away from my melons? They killed my watermelon and cantaloupe vines last year."
The quick answer to that is you need to improve your soil, because healthy soil creates more vibrant plants. However, in the meantime, because that doesn't help any of us like in the right now, is plant your plants a little, like make sure that you're waiting until it's like your soil's the right temperature for planting, because again, then you're not going to have stunted plants that are more disease prone. And also plant your seeds in the ground instead of transplanting them, because cucurbits, so things in the cucumber family, the watermelon, like all watermelon, squash, cucumbers, they don't like to have their feet moved. So basically they like to be planted straight from seeds. And then also, keep airflow, get plenty of sunlight, get plenty of moisture, not too much. And yeah.
Okay. What companion plants do you use with cabbage, red cabbage worm? Have we done this question?
No.
Okay. I've heard Dale, but what do you do? Asked Nick Van Hooft.
So companion planting when it comes to cabbage worms, at least where we're at, because like pest pressure in the South is just absolutely nuts. I mean, when we lived in Washington State, in Seattle, I gardened and I truly thought that, I had everything figured out because I basically had no pest pressure. And then I moved south and I was like, oh, well. Anyway, all that to say, when it comes to really aggressive things like the cabbage worms and things like that, companion planting really doesn't help nearly as much as I would like it to. Dill, marigolds, all those things are great. But what's even better is if you can tolerate putting it on, row cover is the most, like just putting the flimsy, fabricy row cover is the best way to battle, early season beetles and cabbage worms and all those things. However, I hate that stuff. It's too windy here to mess with it. And so what I do is whenever I every couple evenings or so, I'll walk through the garden with my vacuum and I'll vacuum off all of the little wormies that I see. Anytime you see actual damage, you can kind of train your eyes to glance over the garden. If you see that there's a bunch of leaves suddenly missing from one of the plants or whatever, you might actually just choose to let that be the sacrificial lamb and just choose to have a trap plant, like a sacrificial trap plant, and let that one be the one you let everybody eat on, and go and vacuum all the worms off of that one every once in a while. And then you might notice that, you have less over time. I mean, Jill, I loved seeing this because I've been doing this for years, but
Whispering Willow.
Yeah, Jill, Whispering Willow Farms in Arkansas, which that video is coming out soon. She plants Brussels sprouts, not because they actually like them or eat them, but because Brussels sprouts, for whatever reason, are like the main target of cabbage worms where they're at. And so she'll plant a Brussels sprout at the end of every one of her rows, and then let the worms go to town, and then they tend to leave the other ones alone.
Cool. Diane Lynn asks, what is the easiest way to get sweet potato slips for planting? Mine are not producing in the water/toothpick way.
Honestly, the water toothpick way, I don't ever even mess with it because it seems to me like it's too complicated and it's whatever. But I have seen tons of people obviously have success with it. I just put a tray of potting soil or whatever that has no drainage, so it stays moist and wet all the time. And I just set my sweet potatoes in it, and then I let this slip start to grow, and then I cut them just like I would seed potatoes, and I plant those because it's lazier and it's worked just better for me. I mean, I've just never had luck. I have made sweet potato slips lots of times, but I've just realized that it's not worth the effort because we get just as many, if not more, sweet potatoes just by tossing those things. And if I get really lazy or if I'm late or whatever else, like last year, I just took literally everything that was left after I was sick of eating sweet potatoes come May, right before we had the baby, and I threw them out into a patch of grass, and then covered it with a bucket of compost and a bucket of mulch from the tractor. And then I came back in September and picked them with our baby, and he's still eating them to this day.
It's a true story.
We picked like 400 pounds from that.
Yeah. It was like the save the harvest.
Yeah.
Alicia Lorraine asks, any opinion on what to put on the ground of chicken coops? Diatomaceous earth, cedar or pine shavings, horse pellets, straw, etc.?
I love using pine shavings in chicken coops and doing a deep bedding method. So like basically you only clean your chicken coop like once every 6 months, and you just keep adding pine shavings to it over and over. It's I naturally had free pine shavings because I do woodworking, and so I had wood shavings from my shop. But it's probably the most economical, and also that's the best way to get the actual best compost, because then literally when like once every 6 months you pull all that stuff out of your chicken coop, put it into a pile, like soak it with the hose, and then do everything I talk about in my 18-day compost video. And then you have literally the best compost you could possibly have 18 days later.
Oh, there's my sister.
Oh, but yeah, every time that there's every time that it smells bad or there's flies or anything, like add more. Like that's the whole thing, is like just you got to keep piling it on. And that's actually true for your compost pile or literally anything else. Like if there's a bad smell, put some carbon on top of it. That absorbs the smell, fixes the issue. Then someday you might see like your chicken standing on top of like Sawdust Mountain and be like, ah! But, just kidding.
Beaver Country Rancher asks, do you always let every plant go to seed and spread their seed?
Not every plant every time, for several reasons, but I do collect a lot of seeds, and I do let a lot of plants naturally self-seed. One of my favorite things to let self-seed is basil, because basil is notoriously hard to get to germinate in my very lazy gardening setup. in trays, but for whatever reason, it grows like wild out there when it's self-seeded. So I let that happen. Lettuce, great. Turnips, great. All brassicas, really great. Amaranth, too late, so it's done great. And dill, other herbs, yeah. I mean, a lot of things do, yes, but I will say that I do let everything kind of, like, a lot of things go to seed, but I also then am pretty intentional about making sure that things aren't too crowded or too chaotic, because ultimately when there's too much going on, nothing survives. Nothing thrives. Everything survives.
Okay, soil test question. Andrea Bernard asks, how much area in your garden do you recommend one soil test cover? I feel like the soil around all the areas of our small acreage and even in each individual raised bed is so different and has such different needs for different plants. But I don't have funds for 30 different soil tests.
I love that question so much because it gets at like kind of the heart of one of these major issues. So when I am doing just like a baseline soil test for my garden, I have a pretty big garden. I mean, I have about 2,000 square feet of growing space, probably. One soil test for all of that area, even though, yes, there's lots of different raised beds and there's different things going on in all those beds. But the thing is that, to say this as quickly and efficiently as possible, you're not going for absolute perfect fertility in each and every tiny location. That actually is what you're trying to do with conventional farming. When you're using chemical fertilizers, you have to have that perfect recipe of stuff right in that one specific space for anything to grow, because that's its only shot. But when our goal is ultimately building well-balanced, healthy soil overall, we can take little samplings from here and there and everywhere, because the reality is that we are going to ultimately create kind of like a moisture network, if not a fungal network and a microbe network over a large area. And when you have healthy-ish soil, you have an underground highway system of microbial activity that will basically be able to borrow things from much further away. When you're literally plowing your soil and starting from a sterile environment, then every single nutrient that your plant needs to be available right at that tiny little spot that it's going to be, getting stuff from its roots. However, if you have if you do a no-till garden and you start creating a fungal network, and you have good microbes moving from here and there and doing all the things that they should be doing, you have the ability to have nutrient sharing amongst your plants. And that's definitely a huge goal with all of this. I mean, the thing that makes us good at being lazy gardeners is not that we are actually lazy. It's that we let nature do the hard work for us. And so, yeah, don't buy 30 different soil tests. That would be so expensive. And honestly, you would end up changing too much all at once. What you want is just like a general average of what's going on in the area. And then you get a general recipe about, hey, you need to put some mineral clay on the whole area, and you probably need a little bit more nitrogen or phosphorus or magnesium or whatever it is. And then you just kind of do that in the whole area. And then again, you're not doing these in a chemical manner. You're using, I mean, if you need nitrogen, you can use bunny poop, poop of lots of different kinds, pee, human, otherwise, you can use blood meal. There's lots of different ways to go about these things. But if you're doing it in a natural, organic way, you're not shooting the system with a fire hose of nutrients. You're just giving a balanced system what it actually needs to be balanced. Anyway,
I'll just use this opportunity to remind us that the sponsor of the live stream is Redmond.
Yes.
And so if you do need to buy soil test, you can use the code Ann of all trades to get 15% off the soil test.
Yeah. And I mean, I highly, highly recommend the Redmond test. I mean, well, first of all, I just don't ever talk about products I don't absolutely love and stand behind. But I don't love a lot of the other soil tests that are available on the market because they only test for things like your pH or your NPK, and they don't give you any other data. And the thing is, you could have perfect NPK and have a massive mismatch of your micronutrients, and your soil is not going to be healthy. Like your plants for one season might do okay, but you're going to have very likely horrible disease and pest pressure. And next year you're going to be kind of starting from scratch.
Totally. Let's see. Some of those are kind of older questions, but we'll go for it. When adding organic matter each spring, how do you handle perennials like strawberries, asparagus, goji berries, or hardy kiwi that don't want their crowns/trunks buried deeper every year?
That's a great question.
That's Amanda DeLine.
Yes. So the answer is it kind of depends. I mentioned earlier that I dig up some of my strawberries every year. That's part of the problem, but it's like that's part of the reason that I do that is so that I can kind of refresh those beds. But I'll be 100% honest and also tell you that I will break a lot of those rules. I mean, ironically, we were actually just filming my hardy kiwi that I actually did put a ton of organic matter on, even though you're not technically supposed to. And guess what? We're getting kiwis the first time this year that we ever have. So yes, it's one of those things where it's depends, but really it's like you don't around plants that you're worried about putting too much stuff around. Again, adding organic matter like compost is not the same as adding like fertilizer. If you put compost in the general vicinity of whatever plants, so like you maybe you have a whole bed of strawberries that you don't want to add more compost to. First of all, you could sprinkle about an inch of compost every year and you're never going to have an issue with that. But let's just say that you have a whole bed you don't want to put anything on. Fine, no problem. Put it in the next bed because or put it, in between a few plants or whatever else. But if you have it in the general vicinity, it's going to, like, the microbes are the thing that is going to basically activate all the useful stuff anyway. So it doesn't have to be right there, right next to the plant, because it's going to be basically utilized by the whole system or incorporated into the whole system. So it's not nearly as important to fertilize each specific plant with compost every year when you're actually using compost as opposed to fertilizer.
I don't know about this question. Do you ever use Miracle-Gro?
Absolutely not. My thoughts on it are that it kills soil, it kills plants, and it kills people.
True.
But also no shame, because like my dad used Miracle-Gro for years and years, and
we all did.
Yeah. When you know better, you do better. But also, like, I will never, I will never intentionally shame anyone for doing anything the way that it works for them. Because if it works for you, then it works.
I just planted some asparagus plugs. Am I supposed to cut the tops of them now? Asked Melissa Seals.
That is a great question. I love it. Don't touch that asparagus again for 2 years. I mean, add compost to it, but don't clip anything. What it needs the most right now. So asparagus is actually like those little aliens that come in the beginning of spring. The only reason they're able to emerge from the soil's surface is because there's a bunch of stored energy in the roots of the plants. Yes, can I help you?
I was looking at the brand of overalls. This is the next question.
Oh, Dovetail.
Yes.
I was like, can I help you? Yeah. But anyway, I'll have to say that all of the stored energy that comes out the top in the spring is coming from those roots. And so the reason when you plant asparagus crowns, like if you start picking asparagus the first year, you're basically going to exhaust all of the energy that's stored in those crowns. And so you need to leave them be for like 2 years, which I know is so hard, but it's worth it.
Yep. Oh yeah. So somebody asked about your overalls, but you're saying that
My overalls are made by Dovetail Workwear. Thank you for asking.
My 3-year-old peach tree keeps sprouting new leaves at the base of the trunk. Is this common? Keep pruning it?
Yes.
S.K. Moriarty?
Yes, and yes. It's very common. Peach trees are vigorous growers in a lot of climates, and they are just going to constantly want to be putting out shoots from the roots, shoots from the top, water sprouts when you prune. Just keep that growth in check.
Okay. And what do you do with ants and termites in your garden beds? As down south Louisiana garden.
Well, down south in Louisiana, those things are definitely a big concern in a lot of ways. But the thing is, this is a real, probably unpopular take, but ants and termites both are extremely wonderful garden helpers. They are only ever problematic. Ants can sometimes be problematic if you notice that they're what's called farming aphids. So if you notice that there's ants running up and down a stalk of a plant that has a bunch of aphids on it, that's where you would want to pay attention to it and do something about it. And in that case, ant hills, you can just keep pouring boiling water down their hills until they stop coming out. You can constantly disrupt the soil, like everywhere you see them hilling, like if you disrupt the soil around where they're hilling, eventually they'll realize, oh, this isn't a good place to build a home, and they'll relocate elsewhere. But usually balanced, well moisturized soil is not going to have an overgrowth of either one of those things. People are worried about termites in their garden because they're worried about termites coming into their house, but termites are not going to come into your house unless you're creating a bridge for them to walk across into your house. In fact, most home infestations of termites are not coming anywhere near the garden. They're coming from because people are like stacking firewood up against their house, and you have decaying organic matter right up against your house. So, keep your mulch raked off of your siding by about 2 feet, and don't create a moist organic material barrier. And then you don't ever have to worry about them, because what ants and termites really do very well for us is they create tunnels under the soil, which creates aeration for our plants. And what did we say earlier about plants? They don't like to breathe underwater. They can't breathe when they can't breathe. So what's good for a plant? Nice airy roots.
Yeah. When is your next morning chores video? I love them, especially when you give it to Jeffrey.
Well, I hate to tell you, but Jeffrey no longer resides here after he yeeted me across the...
He's still alive.
He is. Oh, no, he still is alive. He lives in Florida now. He's very happy. He's in a retirement community. Yeah, after he yeeted me across the barnyard, he left the next morning and he wasn't missed.
Yeah.
But we will...
Probably, we're pretty light on the animals at the moment.
Well, we have 20 cows, 4 goats, 2
cows.
donkeys, a goose, Lucifer the pig, Johnny and June the dogs, Eugene the bunny.
Well, I guess we do have a lot of animals.
But I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, the chores are not that interesting right now because they only take like 12 minutes because I've been so obsessed with streamlining.
We will, though.
Chores, but we will do them. I think
probably
Alexander asked me for some chickens and some guinea fowls for the fall, and so probably our next one will be like early fall.
Yeah, fall, winter. Yeah, those are great to do.
We love
not during gardening season.
Yes,
because there's just so all we can do is keep up with gardening.
Yeah,
videos and
we never have a shortage of videos. I mean, like I have, I think, 115 videos on our videos to make list, so we'll just get right through that at one a month.
Animal videos are great for the winter when garden is put to bed. So we'll do like cow videos and stuff. But I'm glad you like those. I love doing those videos. Those are fun. Okay, did I just hurt my asparagus by cutting them off before a frost to eat it? The frost killed a bunch.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's really frustrating.
Grandma.
No, not necessarily. The thing is, if frost is killing your asparagus, it's not mulched enough, because asparagus actually thrives in places where there's actually really severe winters. So if frost is killing your asparagus, it's not mulched enough. So add some mulch, add some compost. hopefully you won't have those problems again. And you probably didn't kill it off, but maybe, I don't know. Can't tell you. Without looking at it and seeing if it comes back.
Eternal Treasures asks, can you put compost with aged cow manure in it around plants whose fruit touch the ground?
If the worry is pathogens, then I guess it just depends on how those cows were managed, but I wouldn't be that worried about it. I mean, I'm regularly picking a donkey turd up off the ground and examining it and then eating a strawberry without washing in between, as Adam is regularly yelling at me about. But, you know, it depends on how it was aged. It depends on how those cows were managed. But, I mean, organic matter is organic matter, and I love adding it to the garden. So far be it for me to discourage it.
Okay, we're trying to get through questions quickly, but then I see questions like this and it makes me nervous. Because I just know how much.
Oh my gosh, no, just wait. This is so easy.
Okay. Roxanne Murray asks, Anne, have you ever propagated your fig tree yet? If so, how do you do it?
Yes, literally hundreds and hundreds of times. And figs are the single easiest fruit tree or fruit to propagate. When it comes fall, like right before your first big frost, trim your plant back as much as you're going to trim it back, and take every single one of those cuttings and stick them into the dirt, and 99% of them will probably grow.
There we go. Rover asks, so if I live next to a cornfield that is heavily sprayed, is the underground microbial system of my garden sabotaged?
No. I mean,
tough to say.
Like, it's tough to say, but the reality is that if it's being heavily sprayed, that's all the more reason to work really hard on growing your microbial system, and specifically your fungal system, because, you know,
Cody and Michelle had that.
Cody and Michelle are having big issues with that. We've talked to them a lot about potential remediation issues that they could do, or techniques that they could do with mushrooms, various mushrooms. Yeah, if there's heavy spraying going on nearby, all the more reason to try to build your fungal network, because and your microbial life and all that stuff, because those are the cleaners that are going to clean it up. But yeah, I mean, just, it sucks when you are near that, because you are at a disadvantage, but like, it's not impossible to deal with by any means.
Miss Betsy Lust, feel free to answer any questions you want in the chat. Not going to yell at you.
We're never going to yell.
I love it.
We might ignore, like, if it's too weird of a question, but I mean, go for it.
No, I think she's
answering questions. Oh, sorry. Oh yeah, no. I mean,
we love like,
listen,
the participation. It's all good.
Participation awards aplenty. I will later go back and read them. So if you were incorrect, then I might say I will actually, but I don't try to be a jerk.
Yeah, we do go back and read all of the comments. I mean, there's so many comments going by that we don't necessarily see them all in real time, but we do go back and read all of these later. Okay. Okay. I'm working on buying a lot next to our home. A home was taken down due to it being deplorable. Otherwise, the land has not been touched for 10 years besides mowing. What is your opinion on starting a garden on that property?
That sounds like a great place to start a garden. I mean, anywhere that you have is a great place to start a garden. Do it. But also, I mean, if it's been 10 years fallow, great. It should be ready to go, but do a soil test, know where you're starting, and then you can add from there.
Yeah. Sabrine asks, hello, nice seeing you. What's the best method to support indeterminate tomatoes? I'm thinking of doing T-posts and Florida weave with cords to support them as they grow.
Florida weave works. Keep them trimmed.
Reeves Clark asks, I mostly have to grow in pots, and due to an infestation of bears,
Are you in Montana? Because I grew up in Montana and it sounds familiar.
I cannot have a compost pile. Any recommendations of what I can do for my potted herbs and plants to keep the soil healthy for them?
Yes, actually. In fact, I don't know if it's even on the website. I think it is. Let me just grab it really quick. If you can't do anything else, for your garden or anything else, like this is the new soil microbes product that Redmond just came out with. And it's not fertilizer. Don't think of it as fertilizer. But if you were going to do anything for your garden, spraying this on it every couple weeks is going to massively improve things. And I will spare you the TED Talk for why, but like basically most people just don't have enough going on organically in the soil for like all these microbes and stuff. Like if you actually create the buffet for them, or you set the table and send out the invitations, eventually all the party goers will come, whether you purchase a product or not. And this is one of my favorite things about Redmond is they're never trying to sell you anything. Like this is a great way to speed up a process. So like you could create the buffet table for the microbes to be able to come, and they will eventually show up on their own. However, if you don't have a way to invite them, this is a great way to get them to show up anyway. And so, this is available, I think, now on the Redmond website, and it's been a long time coming. It's, again, I don't want to do a TED Talk because I know we've got a lot more questions we want to get through.
But I will use this opportunity to remind everyone that this stream is sponsored by Redmond.
Yes.
So you can use 15%. I just put it on the screen. 50% off with the code Anne of all trades.
Yeah. And also, I mean, a little bit of this product goes an insanely huge way. Like, a little goes a long way.
Yeah.
We just visited our friends Ryan and Jasmine, and I literally gave him like a small cup of this for his enormous garden, because you just put like a tiny bit of this in mini gallons of water and spray it, because it's the microbes that you want to. They're very microscopic. Anyway.
That's our next video, by the way. We visited Ryan and Jasmine, little farmland.
Yes.
They're growing food on basically bedrock.
Yeah, their farm, I mean.
So look out for that one.
I'm so excited about that video for a lot of reasons. But I mean, Adam is the head and I am the heart in this whole partnership. But the thing is that one of my favorite things about our friends, Ryan and Jasmine, is I have never met two people more grateful for like whatever they have, no matter what it is. But the way that they talk about their land, I've known them for 4, maybe even 5 years now. And the way that they've always talked about their land is just like, they're so grateful for it. They've always mentioned like how challenging it is to farm and everything. Anyway, but all I ever heard was how grateful they were and everything else. These people have found a way. They were total city slickers when they moved. They moved from California to Tennessee. And, by every metric, should have been one of those statistics of people that get into farming and then quit, because I have literally never been somewhere that I have been like, oh my gosh, like this is actually impossible. And they never once looked at it like, oh, this is impossible. They're just like, we're so grateful to have this and we're just going to figure out how to do it. And like, I am like I'm just getting teary even thinking about that video that we filmed with them, because all I heard over and over and over is how grateful they are. And like, can you even believe that this worked? And it's like, what? Like, that's, I mean, fun. It's really incredible.
There's a good video too.
They are such treasures, and I am so excited for you all to see that video, because it's a good heart video, but it's also full, like jam-packed full of good, helpful information for people that are trying to grow in less than ideal circumstances. Because by less than ideal, I mean like they are literally farming in hell.
Yeah. All right, super chat from Tenfold Homestead. Thank you so much. They said thank you for doing these live streams. We're learning a lot. Your channel has been both enjoyable and informative as new homesteaders. That means a lot to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. We're so thankful. For me, I'm not really good at the bee boobs. If you watch the beginning of this, you already know that. But
the bee boobs mean like
the
technology?
Computer stuff.
Oh yeah.
What would you think the bee boobs are?
No, that's what I thought.
Oh yeah, okay. And so but also we have 20 cows. We very rarely ever leave. And if it weren't for these things, I don't ever want to waste anyone's time, and I want to make videos. I'm not here to I don't like being looked at. I'm not here to be famous or anything else. I literally am just I feel like I have been gifted the ability to learn and to synthesize some things. And if I can share the information that I can ingest at a rapid rate, and in a way that's helpful for others, that is all I need to keep going and to keep going and to keep going. Because it's not, what we do is not easy by any means. And, it's a lot of work, and it's very difficult. And we're always if you ever see those memes of a puppy that's in a pool, with only its snout coming out, that's the way that we live. But it's all I need to know is that it's being helpful, and I'll keep doing it till there's nothing left. Anyway, you have another question or what?
Thinkers asks, what methods do you use to get rid of your cabbages? Your cabbages of worms.
Well, we just did that one a few minutes ago, but
okay.
So I'll just refer you to an infinite amount of time earlier when I was TED talking about that.
What's the 5 second?
The 5 second is vacuum the worms off your plants, and maybe plant let one plant be your sacrificial lamb.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was 45 minutes ago.
Time flies when you're having fun. Actually, I could probably sit and be asked this is my version of trivia, what or whatever. Literally, if you just sat and rapid fired trivia questions, I could probably do this for 12 hours a day. It's my dream. It's a personal, useful. Yes, to be useful.
Soft Sculpture asks, I've been collecting tea leaves after my tea sessions, wondering if they can be used for adding goodness to the soil,
yes,
like compost.
It's organic matter, but what's a tea session?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question. Remember, you went to university in China. You used to know the tea ceremony, didn't you?
I still know the tea ceremony. How could I forget? I've done it 1,000 billion times.
Why don't you explain to the
what
a tea ceremony is?
A tea ceremony?
Yeah.
I mean, you are waking up the leaves of the tea. How do we want 45 minutes?
Yeah, it's the ritual of how you do tea.
Yeah. But I just want to know what this person's tea sessions are.
I have no idea. I think it's probably.
I think it's just
whenever they drink tea.
You sit down and drink tea and gossip.
I think they're just.
Anyway, tea leaves are great for the garden. Also, by the way, I'm growing tea. I created. This is so stupid, but I found it so amusing, and so stay tuned for our garden tours. I literally made a little tiered area of our garden this year to grow my tea in, because I wanted to have some tea hills in China. I think I'm really starving for some Asian influence in my Tennessee life right now.
Did we ask this question? Okay, so Becky Boyd Francis.
Look at that precious little muffin.
Very cute.
Baby.
Asks, hi. We started lazy gardening last year. I've seen in videos where you add compost before putting down your mulch. Do you add compost to existing beds too? If so, what does that process look like?
What's that video that we released?
This question was asked
No.
2 hours ago. So
sorry
Becky,
if
you
it's
already
late.
went to bed. But
also, what was that video that we released like in the fall last year or the winter, that this is what I do? I add the compost. It's like trending on Facebook right now.
Oh,
the one where I'm like pouring the blue bucket of compost into a garden bed. No? Okay.
Yeah. The do this before spring video.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it's called.
Okay, cool. Well, good. Glad we had that personal aside.
No,
for
but
no
it was
reason.
released like around Thanksgiving.
Okay, that's not helpful. It's all right. The answer to your question is yes. I do put compost down when I'm starting a new bed. I do put compost down, and then I put mulch on top of it to keep the moisture in it, to like have the mulch kind of integrate with the compost, get the microbes going, all that stuff. But do I add compost to existing beds too? Yes. What does that process look like? It depends on what time of year it is, but like, listen, if you have compost, add it. Doesn't matter what time of year it is. Doesn't really matter what's going on. Like, compost is like too much compost. There is literally no such thing. Adding more compost is going to help with your water retention, your disease and pest prevention. All good things happen when you're adding compost. But if I'm adding it to existing beds and there was already mulch there, this is a very important point. Rake back your mulch before adding the compost, because anytime that you're mixing wood chips, like let's say you just left your mulch there, then you put your compost on top of it, and then like now you have a really thin layer of compost on top of mulch, and if you mix those together at all, then your mulch is going to start like basically needing to borrow nutrients from that compost to be able to start breaking down, and in that you're then taking fertility away from your plants. This is a much, like, I even hesitate to say that because I constantly get the comment like, all that mulch is robbing nitrogen from your plants, and that is not actually true. But I do want to just make the distinction that it is really important that you don't ever just put compost directly on top of mulch without raking it back, the mulch that is, before adding the compost. And then you can like kind of sprinkle the mulch back up on top, but just don't mix them.
Does the Redmond, Nick, does the Redmond test show you which minerals are affected by pH availability?
Yes, quick answer is that yes, but also pH doesn't matter nearly as much as you think.
Kim Robertson Scott says, thank you so very much for sharing your knowledge. My question is, I have access to horse manure compost for free. How should I use this in my garden? How much should I amend it? You don't really need to amend it. You just basically need to compost it. So check out my composting for beginners video and follow that, and take whatever horse manure and bedding you get, and just basically follow that video. And then 18 days later, you're going to have some really delightful free stuff to use in your garden. Did you grow artichokes in Washington? Yes. When did you plant them, and then when did the harvest happen? Asks Vicky Ferguson. Yes, I planted the plants. I planted seeds in the spring that then became plants, and then the following year, so basically like the following spring, it would flower and create artichokes. And I harvested so many artichokes off of like my 2 and 3 year old plants. It was like insane. Yeah, so good. Thank you, Kai Tonello, for the super chat. I love what you guys do. Thank you. Cool cowboy hat. I noticed, says Amanda Deline, from this year's spring video, your beds are getting quite tall from years of raking the pathways up onto the beds. That is true. How does that work with your kiwi, asparagus, and rhubarb? So we just talked about that a little while ago about the kiwi. No big deal there. Although I will say that I actually have been kind of like raking my pathways back a little bit near my kiwi plants. Rhubarb, no issue. Asparagus, literally the more the merrier. Like you could put like 6 inches plus a year of stuff up on top of your asparagus, and it would just get happier every year.
Oh, in fact, we did actually do a funny thing where I picked an asparagus today and like I twisted it off at the crown. It was like there was like this much white stuff down at the bottom, and that was literally because it had been buried literally that much. But they're thriving, so no worries there.
Beaver Country Rancher says, now the most important question: when is your next video coming out?
Tomorrow. Or 2 days?
So this is the video we were just talking about.
With
we're really excited about with Little Farmland. That should come out.
Farming in Hell.
I don't.
It's not going to be the title of it, but it's what the topic is. Basically.
Yeah, it's Thursday. It'll probably come out on Saturday or Sunday. Yeah, we'll see.
Shout out to Adam, who's been busting his butt because he's been pulling some really long days editing while Alexander and first of all, while I was like almost dying. And Alexander and I have been doing a lot of snuggling while Adam's been pulling the main work lately. So shout out.
Thank you. I like my What About Bob shirt. Don't hassle me, I'm local. Okay.
How about this one?
I planted wine caps. This is Star Crunch 3000. I planted wine caps last year and just got my first mushrooms, which is delightful. But there is also a very prolific ink cap munching on my wood chips. Any ideas to give the wine caps an advantage?
Don't worry about it. They're not competitors. And so, actually, wine caps, just the more that things decompose, the better and better they do. So the best advantage you can possibly give your wine caps is to keep feeding them in the form of keep adding organic matter. So if that's decomposing wood chips, if it's just brand new wood chips, whatever else, no problem having the ink caps and the wine caps at the same time. Wine caps, like basically all fungal growth in is good, although there are caveats. But I mean, yeah, we won't go down that road. But so excited you're having your first wine caps. Aren't they so yummy? And it's just so fun to have an extra protein source that's also helping you with nutrient sharing and decomposition and moisture retention.
We'll make a mushroom video soon.
I have been begging Adam to make a mushroom video for 3 years because I mean, we have made a couple, but like not to the fullest extent.
I mean, they've been big parts of our garden tours, but yes. Honey's Minnesota Haven asks, any thoughts on wool in the garden?
Wool, fiber, dog fur. I mean, we have livestock guardian dogs that shed like 7 dogs a week.
There's like little white fluffs like all throughout.
Yeah, no. Beds. Wool and fiber and fur and all that, like that is actually the true ultimate mulch. I know like in England and like lots of the UK where there is a lot of sheep and unfortunately wool prices have basically just totally tanked. It's so inexpensive to get wool and fleece and things. And in those areas that's been being used for compost and for mulch and like it's fantastic mulch. I brush my dogs as often as I can. And every time I do, I take those, well, I mean, literally, this is,
nope, here we go. There's a whole bucket full of fluff.
You know, like this is like, just like 20 minutes of brushing of, sorry, Adam. Actually, that was much dustier than I expected. But anyway, that's going right in the garden. And it's fantastic. I mean, it's a good source of nitrogen. It's fantastic water retention. You know, every once in a while I'm eating a strawberry and I kind of just go like, but like, you know.
Maja Kalisa, sorry, I'm butchering names. Hi, any advice for growing blueberries?
Yes. They like acidic soil. However, pH doesn't matter.
All right.
All that to say that
you keep teasing that.
Well, I mean,
but
what else do you want me to say? Like,
No, that's good.
Get your soil balanced. Like your mineral balance matters way more than your pH balance. And incidentally, over time, your pH will balance naturally if your minerals are balanced too, because the cation exchange is, I mean, you know, positively charged ions attached to negatively charged ions, and everything ultimately balances out.
Kevin Johnson asks if
He's like, get me out of
if
this.
the dog fur breaks down.
Yeah, totally.
Um,
Over time. I mean, it depends. Actually, if you put it in your compost, I mean, you can put like loads of dog fur or, you know, an alpaca fleece or whatever in your compost, in your 18-day compost, and it'll be fully broken down by the end of the 18 days. However, if you're using it as mulch on top of the soil, obviously there's nothing to cause the top part to break down. So it'll last, like, you know, it'll be visible in your soil for like 2-ish years, depending on a lot of things. But yeah.
Do you understand? Okay.
Yes, we're
Brown Thumb Yarden asks, were you recommending azomite to me for my basil and cilantro? I put it in my soil mixture in general, but sometimes do forget I can add extra.
Azomite is basically just like you know, just full of micronutrients, and so in that it's great. But like it's not something like I am frugal, very frugal, and so I am always looking to buy the least amount of things, the fewest amendments or whatever else. And I did one time buy a bag of azomite to put in my compost tea, and I've never purchased again. So like, sorry, the dogs, there's someone wandering around back there, and it just is, you know, we live in a neighborhood. It is what it is. Okay. Well, actually, let me just say too that if you're worried about azomite, like I forgot to add it, or I should have added more, or whatever else, like I probably would never buy it again. But what I would absolutely buy is a bag of Miracle-Lite from Redmond. And again, this is like, it sounds like I'm constantly just trying to shill every one of their products. But the thing is that I've been doing scientific tests in my garden for 15 years, and the benefits that I've found adding literally just the mineral clay that's coming out of the ground near the salt mine at Redmond is like, the benefits are so phenomenal because there's so many micronutrients like bound up in that clay, and it's immediately available to the microbes to eat and to spread around to your plants. So if you're buying azomite already, stop buying azomite and start buying Miracle-Lite.
There you go. Where are we with time here? Okay. We could probably go like another 10 more minutes.
Okay.
Any advice on skirret? I don't do you know those?
It sounds familiar, but I've never grown it, so
all right. So we don't know. We don't know everything. Is ash from my wood burning stove okay to add to my raised beds?
Yes.
Jill Pearson.
Yes, with the caveat that if you're burning as much as we do in our wood stoves, because I'm obsessed with cooking in wood and also just like having fires all the time, then yeah, it depends. The thing is, wood ash is fantastic organic material. And I'm just going to say, like, adding organic material is almost never a problem. The problem with ash, if you're adding, like, also depending on what you're burning, like what kind of wood you're burning, but just don't add a ton of it, just like anything else. If you put too much of a good thing, ends up being too much. But I will say that a fantastic use for wood ash, which actually answers like 25 of these questions, a fantastic use for wood ash, aside from just, you know, kind of spreading it around every once in a while, is if you're having issues with squash bugs, stink bugs, you know, vine borers, things like that, around your cucurbit plants, your cucumbers, watermelons, squashes, etc., a ring of dry wood ash will not fully stop a lot of the pests, but will definitely deter them. And so instead of like, wood ash does basically the same thing as diatomaceous earth in for exoskeletons, is it basically like eviscerates exoskeletons of a lot of creepy crawlies. So in that, if you just spread a little ring of dry wood ash, and I say dry every time because it's important that it stays dry. So if it rains, you got to put more out around your cucurbits. It'll help with the pests quite a bit.
Cool. Okay, I'll let you look at something. We made some good dents on the questions. I was like, I don't know if we're gonna keep up with this, but
I mean,
you're doing pretty good.
You give me a challenge and I will take it.
Okay, so
there's the squash bugs. That's what I would do, is I would trellis your plants,
there's
keep the leaves off the ground, and put little rings of wood ash around them every few days, and that should help a lot. Also, just as you're like in the evenings, as you're walking through your garden, if you like just take a peek under the leaves, if you see those little orange or yellow eggs, just rip that leaf off and throw it right in the fire or the garbage or whatever else, or just pinch those little eggs. I mean, if you deal with pests early in the season, you're going to have way fewer issues later on. Another just kind of interesting squash bug or cucurbit pest issue that way to deal with them is actually just don't plant early in the spring. Wait till like June, July, and then do some fall plantings, because the squash bugs and things have gone elsewhere by that point. So it's less of an issue.
I just want to say, Miss Betsy Luss, thank you for answering all these questions in the chat. It's definitely makes it interesting. It helped. It's genuinely helpful.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I imagine that like a lot of people here probably gardened and done this stuff longer than I have, and I'm not an expert. Like, I am doing the best that I can, but like I said, I'm not going to claim to know something I don't, and I'm wrong. We've made a lot of videos talking about times I've been wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of these are some older questions that we never got to, if you want to take a look.
Okay, well, here's one that's interesting. Okay, I've not been able to get my blackberries to fruit for 3 years now. They're potted in a 20-inch pot, but were originally in a 10-inch pot. What do you recommend to ensure that they will fruit? Soil. Like, you're missing the nutrients that they need to be able to fruit. And so that's probably why they're not. Almost guaranteed, but I've been wrong before, but I would imagine that would be. Oh, yes, I love this. Okay.
Roxanne Murray asks, I use first Saturday lime around my coop to keep the bugs down and in the dust bath, along with some sand and ashes from our wood burning stove. Straw can lead to mites. Best to use a hemp bedding if that is what you are asking for bedding, and the coop floor.
I actually don't like using hemp bedding because it's too expensive, to be totally honest. And I also have used for Saturday lime before. Mm-hmm. Like, I have a bag of it out there right now. But like, again, I try to just give, like, I'll try things sometimes because, we get, I want to know what works. And sometimes my frugality or my desire to be frugal outweighs my efficiency. So in that, like, every once in a while I'll buy a product and I'll be like, hey, we're going to try it to see if it actually is worth using. And the reality is it's fine, but like, I would legitimately just use hamster bedding because it's cheap. In fact, with our chickens, especially because of the volume that we had, et cetera, I literally used arborist wood chips, which were free for us. And then I would just constantly add more. And then I would, once when it was too disgusting, would like scrape it all out and then compost that and then start over. So hemp bedding is so expensive, and I don't see a benefit in actually using it that is worth the financial investment.
Cool. Ritz asks, hi, Ann. It was great meeting you at the Homesteading conference in Waco. Do you have any tips about keeping cilantro from seeding?
Yes, I do. Keep it cut. You're in Texas, so it's hot and it's about to get hotter. And cilantro does it's a cool season crop, so it likes to grow. You'll probably have the most success with it during the spring and like early spring and like almost like winter and fall. But plant it in the shade of some other plants so it's not getting full sun all the time. Keep it clipped, like literally clip it every day, and that's what's going to keep it from going to seed. There's also some slow bolting. That's what it's called when it goes to seed, is bolting. There's slow bolting varieties that you can get by the seeds of. But yeah, just keep it clipped. That's the biggest thing. Actually, that's the case for almost everything. Like if your lettuce is, getting all bitter and gross, like clip more of it every day. There is a point that things ultimately are just like, it's time. It's time to make seeds and babies because I'm going to die.
Ron Smith says, we look so happy. And are you still doing woodworking? Do you make or build special orders such as mandolin for somebody?
No, I will not make a mandolin for somebody.
I'm glad we look happy. I'm kind of wondering if I look tired.
Yeah, well, it's been a long couple of weeks. But I was pointing earlier. Oh wait, I was pointing to the wrong place. Look at those shavings. This is I am not doing woodworking at the same rate that I used to because I'm a new mom and we're also like barely surviving right now. But I made 95 chair spindles for a class the day before we left for Texas.
You made your own little box?
Yeah, I made a riving break. I'm always tinkering. I would love to do more than I do, but also I would love to do more of everything. And there's just not enough hours in the day. And we are so happy. And actually, the thing is, it's not like we were necessarily unhappy before, but like I've wanted to be a mom my whole life. And like Alexander's the best thing that's ever happened. And it's hard. And I haven't slept since like last June, but it's so great. He's so great.
Pretty cute.
It's everything. Everything that I am doing, that I've been doing, it was for the kids that just never came. And now there's one, and hopefully there's going to be more. So if you're praying type, pray for that.
Well, a hard pivot to talking about ground beef. But sorry, I didn't pick that question.
Well, why? Whatever.
Sabrine Nasser says, we bought a bull last year, but made a mistake and ate all the ground beef before we got through even half of it.
Oh, well, can't blame you. Ground beef. I eat a pound of ground beef at least every single day. And so it's
a little exaggeration.
Is it?
Do you sell your ground beef in bulk at your farm stand or elsewhere? Why? That's a great question.
That is a great question. Actually, we do have, not in bulk, we do have our beef at the farm store, but it's not in bulk. And the funny thing is that normally I actually keep a huge amount of the ground beef myself, and then we sell the other cuts because I eat so much ground beef myself. However, we just had 2 bulls processed, and we have a full freezer, but it's going quick at the farm store. So if you're here in Nashville,
Bell's Bend
Farms, come check it out.
What days are the farm store open?
Farm store is open on Tuesday afternoons and Saturday mornings.
And where can they find information?
Find information at bellsbendfarms.com. I'm pretty sure.
Google it.
Yeah, Google Bell's Bend Farms, and you can find all the information. Wish we were better.
Yes. Okay.
Also for milk.
Yes.
Also vegetables. CSA.
Question, says Steve something. Question, for my balcony garden, I've had real problems with powdery mildew for the past few years. Any suggestions?
Yes, powdery mildew is usually an issue of either poor soil drainage or overwatering or poor soil health, or a combination, almost always a combination. The best way to deal with powdery mildew is succession planting. So don't try to limp your plants along for longer than they want to be. So cucumbers are a fantastic example. Most people will plant cucumbers in the spring and think that they should be able to limp their cucumber plants along until the end of the year or growing season. And that's just ridiculous because basically cucumber plants want to be succession planted. So every 6 weeks, you should have a new cucumber plant starting to produce cucumbers. And so in that, plant a new couple cucumber seeds every couple weeks, and you should be golden there. And then before, like the minute that you start seeing powdery mildew start to appear on your squash, cucumbers, whatever, like pull that plant and get rid of it. And then it won't spread. So that's the big thing, is constantly have new plants coming up. Check your soil health. Don't water too much.
Cool. Let's do
one more because I'm about to pee my pants.
Okay. Can you grow directly in compost?
Absolutely. Yes. If you own, like what a dream if you could.
All right.
Hey, thank you all so much for being here, for sharing your time and your attention with us. Like, our time is our only non-renewable resource, and it means the world to us that you would spend it with us. We so desire to be helpful. Please let us know how we can do a better job.
Yeah.
We love you, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.